Hi there, Release Fire here. So I'm going to talk you through how I managed to beat the Fat Chocobo in Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's a tough boss fight, or at least it feels like a tough boss fight because nothing you do seems to do all that much damage. However, hopefully the tips that I talk through in the video are going to help you out. If they do, drop me a like below. But you can see fire damage initially didn't do a great deal of damage. Getting on in and hitting it with my nailed baseball bat just didn't seem to touch it, and then it sends out these crazy characters which can kind of confuse you. And for me, the best thing to do is kind of ignore those, get in your hits, build up your ATB charge, and use the focus thrust. And you'll notice here when I use the focus thrust, I get a good addition to my stagger bar on the Fat Chocobo. So yes, it managed to do a bit of a roll on me there and do a bit of damage, but I can build up an ATB, hit it up with one of the focus thrusts, and again you should be able to see here when I'm a bit closer, getting that stagger bar higher and higher until eventually it's going to stagger. And once it staggers, that's when you know you're going to be able to finish it off pretty quickly. Obviously try to do what you can with Aerith, but the general point is to focus on using Cloud to get it to stagger as quickly as possible. And yes, it's done quite a lot of moving around, but I've managed to roll out of the way of a lot of it and keep focusing on using that focus thrust and make sure you get the stagger in. And as soon as you stagger, you just want to hit it with as much of your big hits as possible. So here you can see I'm using Cloud's Braver ability to just dish up some big hits. That's 1284 damage, and then just keep building up that ATB, and then use items to keep yourself in the game if you need to. But in general, what you're trying to use is either big magic or big abilities to bring that health bar down while it's in quite a lengthy stagger. Obviously, make sure you bring Aerith in every now and again to use her abilities when she builds up an ATB. And if you combine all of that together, then you should slowly and surely start to genuinely chip away at the Fat Chocobo's health bar. You can also use Aerith to cure Cloud every now and again, and then when the Chocobo throws these bombs, I didn't find I had any problems with them whatsoever. I just kind of ignored them, rolled out of the way, spun on around to the side of the Fat Chocobo, and then just kept up the same process of using the focus thrust to be able to get in my hits. A lot of the time the Fat Chocobo is just staying in one place, but every now and again he throws out some crazy bouncy movements or rolls, and for that I just tended to try to roll out of the way and steer clear and use cures to be able to save me, and then kept building up the stagger using the focus thrust. And then anytime you build up your limit breaker, definitely use those when you've got the Chocobo staggered, because they will do the most damage and bring down that health bar really nicely. And then also, if you've got an opportunity to bring out a summons, then use Ifrit if you've got him, and he will just add in an extra batch of damage, which you can see here during the entire lengthy stagger phase. And this is when you're kind of trying to make the most of your opportunities. Here's where you want to throw everything at it. So if you can use all of your abilities, all of Aerith's abilities, and make sure you've got a summons in the mix, then you can really bring it down. Ifrit will also do a finisher move, which again just gives you an extra big chunk of health to bring down. And then towards the end, a final stagger, finish it off with a limit break. Now I managed to pick up a charm in Wall Market that gave me limit break charge as I used MP, so if you can get that prior to this fight, then it's definitely worth looking around for that. I think it's in the weapon shop on the way up to Don Corneo's house on the left hand side, so make that trip if you need to pick that up. But that is how to beat the Fat Chocobo boss here in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like I said earlier, hopefully the tips point you in the right direction, and if they do, drop me a like below. You can also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, with the links on the left hand side, and check out the rest of my guide to Final Fantasy VII Remake with the links on the right hand side. Leave any comments, and I will catch you next time.